This is Dark Messenger Gaming, but you can call me Dark. Today I'm going to give a review of Dragon's Dogma 2 after 100 hours of gameplay. Let's get started. Dragon's Dogma is easily one of the best RPGs I've played in a long time. It seems that for a long time, many games in the genre have really forgone the feeling of exploration and discovery, and this is something that I really enjoyed with like early JRPGs, like the original Final Fantasy, a lot of the original Final Fantasies for that matter. Dragon's Dogma 2 is not that game. You could easily follow a very direct set of quests to get to the end of the game, but you would miss so much of what this game has to offer. Exploration, curiosity, and experimentation are often rewarded in a fun and interesting way. This is a game meant to be savored. Dragon's Dogma 2 is truly about the journey and not the destination. The replayability of Dragon's Dogma 2 can't be understated. You can easily miss quests in the game, but beyond that, you can also deal with quest objectives in various ways that have various outcomes in the world. After 100 plus hours of gameplay, I can truly say there's still more for me to experiment with in a second playthrough. I suspect people will be finding hidden quests and relationships for a long time to come, and for me, that's really exciting because I tend to finish a lot of games and then never pick them up again. And this is one, even if I don't stream it or do any kind of recordings for it, I likely will play this off stream again because it was just that enjoyable, and I know that there was so much more that I could have experienced with the game. Dragon's Dogma 2 also provides the players with a feeling that their choices matter. An NPC can die and stay dead, which may impact what quests you can have available to you. The save system makes you commit to your choices in a way that few games do. While you can return to an earlier save if you don't like how something panned out, you may find that you've lost hours of progress in doing so. For some, this might be frustrating, but I think it encourages you to play the hand that you were dealt. Not all the great adventures go the way that you want them to, and this further lends the replayability of the game. So honestly, as frustrating as that can be at times, honestly, I think it's a great choice on the developer's part. It really made me at times think about whether or not I wanted to go back and do several hours of gameplay over again in order to get a different outcome, or if I just wanted to accept where the cards fell. So I think this is a great addition to the game, and I think it's something that honestly I probably want to see more in some other games in the future. Another thing I like about the game is the graphics. Graphically, the game is amazing to look at. You can stand on a mountainside in this game and see far off into the distance of this beautiful world. The enemies and NPCs are highly detailed and interesting. It's just a nice game to look at, and I don't necessarily need to have great graphics in a game to enjoy the game. For instance, Valheim, fun game, kind of PS1, PS2-ish graphics, but still a great game. However, if a game does look good, all the better. And this game is great to look at. Beyond all that, the combat is probably the biggest highlight of Dragon's Dogma 2. The combat isn't just standing around trading blows, but is actually engaging. There is a real-time strategy element to the game that a player will need to engage with in order to overcome various enemies. How you engage the enemy can impact what loot you receive from any given fallen foe. Honestly, I want more games to take this combat approach and build from it. While smaller enemies and enemy density can be a bit monotonous as you progress through the game, I've never felt like the enemies were a mere speed bump on the way to where I was going, which is something I've felt in a lot of previous games. This is particularly in like JRPGs and things like that, where it's just, you're fighting the same kind of enemies over and over and over again, doing the same thing. It becomes very rote, very monotonous. And this wasn't the case in Dragon's Dogma 2 for the most part. Right, it's definitely far better. I've never felt like I was bored while fighting these enemies. Even the least dangerous enemies can radically change the direction of an encounter if you aren't prepared. Harpies, for instance, as annoying as they can be, can turn a simple encounter into a restart from your last save by an unlucky grab and drop off of a cliff. Large enemies can be scaled in order to hit weak spots, and just trying to hold on can be an adventure in and of itself. Combat like this makes it harder to go back to tab target or turn-based combat for me, at least. So up to this point, I've covered a lot of the positives, so I do want to go over a few of the critiques I have of the game that are more negative. There aren't many. I feel like they're pretty minor, and they're things that the developer could build off of and improve upon, I think, fairly easily. So some of those critiques are like, I feel like the enemy variety could use some work, especially with smaller enemies. This is related to my second critique, which is enemy density. I don't even really mind the enemy density so much. It's more that the world is dense with the same kind of enemies. There gets to be a sense of monotony, and earlier, I said that there wasn't a lot of monotony, and I stand by that. But this does start to get into that realm a little bit of this feels kind of samey, kind of monotonous, but it still remained engaging. But I think that I think with some enemy variety, that this is something that could easily be improved upon. Beyond that, harpies and their ilk are obnoxious. They can be notoriously hard to bring down as a player depending on your vocation. They can be interesting from time to time, but there are just too many of them, and the sheer number doesn't really add much to the overall experience of the game. So this kind of ties back into that combination of enemy density and enemy variety. It really feels like the developers had this really interesting gimmick with the harpies, and they really wanted to try to kill you with it. And, for the record, I never once was killed by a harpy grabbing me and dropping me off of a cliff. And I'm not even necessarily sure I ever lost one of my pawns to that gimmick either. It's cool. I'm not saying take it out of the game, but tone it down a bit and maybe offer us something else. Even trying to hit them with it when I was an archer was tremendously difficult because it was really hard to lead them. They're quick. They don't necessarily always fly in the direction that you're expecting them to, so they can be pretty difficult to bring down. And it's not like that's a major aspect of like the fight. Like it has like a huge bearing on how that encounter is going to go. It's just annoying. Beyond that, I think my last critique is one shared by a large portion of the player base, and that is performance issues. I play on PC and have a fairly decent rig. This game was taxing on my computer at times. Even though I play most games with no problem at all, this one sometimes required me to have to restart my computer before I could even play it decently. So, hopefully some optimization in the future will help with this. But, by and large, the game ran pretty good. And it wasn't too much of a hassle. Just, it'd be nice for it to improve. So with that, this is my review of Dragon's Dogma 2 after 100 hours of gameplay. I'm Dark Messenger, and if you like this content, please like and subscribe so we can grow this channel, and thanks for watching.